Welcome to Construction One-on-One with Ravi Bhatia. My guest today is Niknaz Aftahi, founder and CEO of AEC+tech. Niknaz, how are you?
Good, very good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Niknaz, we were introduced by a mutual friend, Mehdi Nurbakhsh, and and when I got to know you, speaking with you last month, I got to understand that you're really doing some things that are cutting edge in the construction industry, facilitating change through partnering with AEC innovators. But before we get to that, let's talk about who who is Niknaz and how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, thanks again. It's wonderful to be here. So my background is in architecture. So I'm trained as an architect. I practice architecture in the Bay Area for about 7 years. So before that, I was in Iran. I moved to the US back in 2010. I went to UC Berkeley for my master's, finished that in 2014. And then when I was actually finishing my master for my thesis project, I worked on this really exciting with an, AI scientist partner on this project. We worked on this really cool project that is giving you the most optimal locations for some spaces in a public space. So, anyways, it was a great experiment and experience, and I got really interested um, in basically testing new tools and solutions and adding some AI, to your design projects. And then when I graduated in 2014, went to practice architecture mainstream firms, some smaller, medium sized, some larger firms for about 8 years. And I've had different roles. I've been mostly designers, uh, being part of like the conceptual design of some projects, sometimes DD, CD, all these phases. But then I got this design technology leader role by my own passion because I was always passionate about learning about, new solutions, new products, again, like testing them. And then the last firm that I worked for almost 5 years is called ELS Architecture Firm. It's a great medium-sized design firm in downtown Berkeley. And the principals, the decision makers in the office were very open to these ideas of like testing new tools, incorporating, new products that were relevant to our work. And then we were a team. I was leading the team. We had some champions for different, streams. We had like visualization, computational design, and sustainability. We would go to events and talk to people, and we would invite leaders, technology leaders from different firms to exchange ideas, sharing knowledge, learning. And I got even more interested and I started thinking about the disconnect between all these like, great tools and, innovation and the practice. Because, in practice, especially SMEs, the small and medium-sized firms, they don't have like a person who is always, in search of these things. And they're just busy meeting deadlines, pursuing new projects. They don't have the resources. And I started thinking about the disconnect and feeling sorry for that because, there all this innovation is happening out there and all these great firms are falling behind. And these great firms are building the most important parts of our cities. They are building like apartment buildings, parks, parkings, all this important part, but
All
maybe
the infrastructure and really the built
exactly.
environment. When you say disconnects, what do you mean by the disconnects?
Yeah, so the disconnect is, I basically this firm, this is small and medium-sized firms, or even sometimes larger firms, they don't sometimes even know about all these great products. And sometimes they know, but they find it hard to keep up. There's this like tech fatigue that they get overwhelmed. They don't have a way to find the right one for their own business. And then that's what I was doing at ELS, bringing the most, relevant technology to our company. And then I decided to do it for everyone. So why not creating? I searched for a couple months and talked to people and realized that there's no such a thing like a database, like an online platform, like a searchable online platform that would give you all this information. I decided to leave my architecture job and start the platform
Wow.
myself and build it as like, a database that is open to
That's a
everyone and
huge
accessible.
leap, right? That's a
Yeah,
leap from doing it for one company or one firm to
yeah,
opening it up to a really a global platform for the
yeah,
industry.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And now when I look back, to be honest, I realized that I had such a narrow vision about this process of like design, because so as a designer I was sometimes involved in the like construction administration phase of the project, and I was talking to contractors, but I didn't really have like a perspective or a view of the whole life cycle of the project. So when I started aec+tech, I started learning more about, so first, because my background is as an architect, I most of my contacts were architects. I was always like following these innovators and technologies in the design space. But then gradually I started to learn more and more about like all these great like construction technology tools. So basically the whole life cycle of the project, from all the way from like programming and planning to like construction and even post occupancy, all these great tools. And now I feel like when I look back, maybe I should have learned, they should have taught all of this at school to us. As an architect, you just don't think about that particular
So
phase of
really, I
just like
think what the piece that you were missing was the project management, understanding the project cycle, how projects and programs get managed from end to end.
exactly. Yep,
That's
yep,
that's an interesting thought.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I named the platform AEC because I was interested in all these technologies, architecture, engineering, and construction. And then, so we started by all these like design technologies. And then gradually we had more and more people from, the construction side, engineering tools that would put their solutions on aec+tech. And I myself, talk to these founders all the time, learn about their tools. And, I little by little learn about all these great products that would make your workflow more efficient. And I can tell you a little about the platform, Ravi, how it works. So anyone can sign up, regardless of your background, whether you're associated with a technology company or with an AEC firm. You
mhm.
can sign up and you can add a page for a tool, for technology that you are, building, or you're just testing or working with.
So it could be you could
Um,
be a construction service provider, or you
yeah,
could be providing a specific tool to solve a specific problem in design or construction,
yeah,
or you could be providing some value. So you're connecting. You have almost a meta community.
yeah,
Okay, so what
yes,
you've
yeah,
described is you transformed really from a professional to an innovator while you were doing innovation while you were BLS, but really then you became an entrepreneur and then you combined everything together,
yeah,
right? And that
yeah.
is that sounds like it's a difficult process, right? Transforming yourself like that.
Yeah, and honestly, I was not aware of that, when I was transforming from like a designer to an entrepreneur. I just followed my passion really, because I thought, so I saw the disconnect, I felt the disconnect, and I realized I want to do something about it. And what is it that I would do? Starting this like online website, this online database, and then gradually adding all these features. And then gradually I became like you said, an entrepreneur. So now I'm the CEO of this company, and I have all these new ideas every day, really. So things come to my mind and I have to navigate, and then I started meeting all these great mentors and advisors that I have, So I have a business advisor because my background is in architecture. I knew nothing about business. So I had to get some help and talk to people who that's with that expertise, so they help me navigate this and then monetize, because any business needs to be monetized, of course. So advisors, and then my network. So I have to talk to all these great technology companies all the time. I have to talk to AEC practitioners all the time, because I want the platform to be as resourceful and as easy to navigate as possible for them. So I have to talk to them all the time, ask for features they would like to see on the platform, what is more valuable, what is not. So, I became an entrepreneur without even knowing, over the
Yeah,
last
but you
30
got
years.
the right help along the way. So what you're stating is that you
Yeah.
don't have to know everything. You need to know where to get the help. And having spoken to so many people early on who are innovators in the space, what have you learned about the community of AEC innovators, and what makes a company a great innovator?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ravi. I think so. Great innovators are the ones who, in at least in the AC space, the successful founders that I talk to, that they lived a problem, that they saw a real world problem, and then they had the passion to solve it, and now they are solving this real world problem, and they have the perseverance. They are not, money is important. You have to monetize, you have to focus on the business, but that shouldn't be the goal, really. I
Right.
mean, it's maybe a cliche, but it's very true. Because if you focus on money too much, then you, after, especially as an entrepreneur, you may give up. You have to spend hours and hours of work sometimes without getting paid for it, when you're an entrepreneur, like consultation meetings and
Right.
all these
You've got to have
things.
a bigger
So
goal. The money is a result. You've
exactly.
got to have a much bigger goal than the short-term
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that is important. So the successful ones are the ones who follow that path, and then they don't give up, and the network and all these other factors. But the first I'd say is the solving a real problem, and then, having the resources, accessing the right resources, finding the right people, finding the right mentors, and then having the passion. So you'll find the way.
Wow. So you had challenges up front, and then you have overcome challenges. What are the big challenges that you face in growing AEC plus tech?
Yeah, so growing AEC plus tech, like I mentioned earlier, AEC is on one side, AEC practitioners, because the main goal of the platform is connecting practitioners, those in the industry, to technology. So one part is AEC, then there's the plus, and there's tech. The other side is technology. So the main challenge is growing the AEC part, because so we have this case study library. We ask technology innovators to share with us their case study. So that's not a problem. We are providing the space for them, we are giving them more visibility. We are, asking them the right questions that the AEC practitioners are asking. For example, what phase of design or technology is your tool good for? What type of project is your, solution the most relevant to? So all these like questions. So we are asking them though all these questions. Technology part is easier, but then the AEC is harder, because we want to encourage this culture of sharing. So it's important that we share our learning, we share our success stories, not just success stories, sometimes they're failure stories. We want them to share. And then we have companies on board, great architecture companies, some construction companies. But then we want more. We want to grow this case study library to like thousands of case studies, so we can then use our AI to, leverage the data to ultimately give our users
I was
recommendation.
gonna ask you about that because
Yeah,
the value of what you're doing actually increases incrementally, marginally by every innovator that you add to the space.
yeah,
Right? Because it's like a
yes,
network effect. It's you're adding real valuable information, and really AI and innovation are data dependent, right? And you have to have good data.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
you're doing that, and in that way, I mean, you are really you know. So if somebody came up to you and says, "Well, Niknaz, I don't know how to describe you. You're a communicator, you're an innovator, but you're also an evangelist of sorts. I've seen your YouTube videos, and you're very passionate about the mission, and you are looking to take this industry to another level. Really,
Yeah.
that's the message that I get from looking at your website and from your YouTube. How do you feel about that? Is that an
Thank
accurate
you.
description?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Because so we before starting the platform, we asked a large number of, designers and contractors about how they search for their new technologies and new tools, and also why do you think there is in our industry the rate and the speed of technology adoption has been so slow. It's been always almost like flat. And then the answer we got was that the majority of um, companies don't have the resources, meaning that, so first of all, in-house their data sets and managing their data. So there are a couple of things, but one of them was the lack of resources. So I'm hoping that with AC+Tech we are providing that resource, and that makes the discovery process easier, hopefully the adoption later at technology adoption easier, so we can increase the adoption of technology in our industry. And we know AC is responsible for 40% of the carbon footprint in the world. It's such a huge industry, we hear it all the time, reaching like, I don't know, $14 trillion in 2023. So there are all these numbers, all these statistics. And then if we can use some of these great, tools and technologies that are out there, we can, the less, time we spend on the project, the less carbon, impact we have on the environment. So there is a lot we can do by using more technology. And of course, it's not just technology, it's people, so I personally love technology and I love people. So, that's why I think I've been uh, pretty successful with AC+Tech, because I'm every day I'm talking to people, and it's not about, I haven't created a system that would automatically go online and grab, this list from other website scrap. I don't want that. I want the community. I want to, when someone asks me about, I don't know, Vim or DTO or Schema, all these great tools, all these companies that I just mentioned, I've talked to their CEOs, I've talked to their product director. I first of all, I understood what they do. I verified that myself, that okay, they are working on a legit tool, they are building great stuff. I know like what companies they are currently working with. I've verified all that, and then with confidence I can go to you and I can go to great professionals in the industry and recommend these tools. And it's not biased, I'm not selling any of these products, I'm not getting commission for that, none of that. It's just that I'm excited. It's like you go, eat at a really good restaurant, eat good food, and you want to tell your
Yeah,
friends.
you're not picking the winners and losers. What you're saying is, here
Yeah.
they are. Now let's the
Yeah.
market decide on who's and how they can connect. And in reading the case studies, which I thought that was a great idea, putting the case studies there, because I got to learn about how these companies are able to unlock value by actually solving real world problems. Can you share a case study from one of the companies that are on your platform?
Yeah, for sure. You mean I share my screen right now,
Or you
or
can just
just like,
describe it. You can describe it if you want, or you can,
oh, oh
like
yeah,
you
for
can narrate it.
sure. Yeah, for sure. So, for example, there is this tool called DTO that I just mentioned. So they manage details. So when I was working as an architect, that was one of my the things that I would make me usually frustrated. That for every single project, you have to go and figure out what detail you want to use, and you barely have access to all these past projects that you worked on, accessing all this data. So what DTO is doing is that they are providing like a detailed library for you, And there's actually another one called Purist that I just learned at a recent event I was. So they are doing kind of like something similar to that. So detail management. And now architecture companies are using that to manage their details and to get the right one from their own data for their project. Another one is schema that I just mentioned. So schema is learning from your own past project within your firm. So the tool understands all the beam information that you've had for the last projects, and they leverage it for your next project. And they have this thing called design catalog. And then the design catalog elements are, for example, if it's a hospital, it's a nurse's station. If it's a school, it's a classroom. So these are all the elements. And then they use these elements and then they morph it based on the next project. And then architecture companies and developers are using these features for developing their projects. And another one that again I recently learned about is called Cubic. They are based in Israel. And you mentioned that our community is international. So I really love it that companies sign up on aec+tech from all over the world. And sometimes I don't even know about these tools, because I'm spending so much time every day, everywhere, browsing the web. I go to events all the time. So, but sometimes there are tools that I had never heard of them, and they're doing great work. So this one is this AI-powered generative design tool called Cubic, and they work on commercial buildings. So basically, like imagine you want to convert your commercial building to a residential. It's something that post-pandemic, a lot of companies are working on.
Mhm.
So they give you the most optimal design. They generate the most optimal design for you, and then they show you like the cost and the CO2 emission, all these like factors on the side for all these different options, and also like sustainability, elements like lighting and all sorts of things. And develop, especially like these generative design tools, a lot of like developers that have to come up with a design. So they have a couple like different lots, and they want to know which one is the best one to purchase, for instance. So these generative design tools are the best solutions for them, because in a short amount of time, instead of weeks, in a couple hours, they can see which one is the best lot to purchase and which design option is like closer to what they are thinking, and then they take it from there. So
Wow.
these are just a couple, but we have about like 250 tools, right? So we have almost 500 tools on aec+tech, but 250 have been verified. So it means that I've talked to these companies, someone from the companies sign up and claim their pages. And then when they claim the page, they are in charge of updating their info. Because, these companies, sometimes they pivot a lot of times,
Sure,
the product.
they're changing, they're learning new things. When you say claim their
Yeah,
page, so a innovator, let's say they're a startup, they post on your site.
yeah.
Happens when someone claims it? What does that mean?
So yeah, if they add the page, then they are, in charge of the page for good, and they are the owner. But if someone else that is not working for the company, you can now sign up and add 10 tools to aec+tech, 10 tools that 10 tools that you're working with. But then these pages won't be verified until someone from these tech companies sign up and claim the page. And when they claim the page, we get an email, and then we give them the ownership we
So claim
verify
means
that.
that it's been verified that it's legitimate.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
you've got and then the case studies, does each company, do they provide a case study, or how do the case studies relate to the pages?
Yeah, it's optional. So because sometimes these companies, they don't have a case study, or the projects are confidential, they can't share it. But whenever they have it, they would add it to their page. And when they add it to the page, let's say it's a case study that Skanska was involved, or Ecom was involved, and they used Veeam. Like we have a case study, for example, Ecom was working. Veeam is a great tool for visualizing, for seeing your beam data throughout the life cycle of the project. It's virtual information modeling,
Mhm.
VIM. So ecom used VIM, and then ecom can add that case study, and or VIM can add that case study. And when they do it, then the both companies are part of the case study page. Um, and and then we ask a couple questions when they are like, what was the challenge? What was the ROI if you have it? How did it improve your workflow, business impact? We asked a couple questions that are relevant to that use case.
That's very useful. The case studies are really independent of the pages. So, the
Yes, yeah,
people, so anybody can submit a case study.
yes,
And
yeah,
then something we can kind of all learn from. What do you
exactly.
think right now, based on what you're doing and what you've learned, what are the biggest challenges, let's say in the next 2 to 3 years for architects, engineers, and contractors?
Challenges, yeah, I think tech in regards to technology, so technology integration is going to be a challenge because workflows. So it's like a 1,000-year old, I don't know, 100-year-old industry. So workflows are there, and then companies are not going to change their workflows overnight, change all the tools and software. So everyone is using, like, I don't know, more than 50% are using Revit, for instance. So there are tools that have been there forever. People just feel more comfortable, using them. They feel like they know it. So this integration of these new tools is going to be a challenge because it has to be incremental. It's not going to be overnight, like changing. They have Companies have to make sure that this tool is going to integrate with all these other solutions in their tech stack. And then they have to, test that and pilot it and feel comfortable, and then they can trust it, so they can invest in that tool. I hear it from practitioners all the time that we purchase like a software and next year it's not there. So we spend all these resources and money on training our staff, and that's like one of the pain points, really. So I think this technology integration is going to be a challenge, but it's happening, with all this like AI integration. It's happening, and with the spaces like AC plus tech, main goal is sharing knowledge. We hope that you know sharing more knowledge and sharing the learnings help the community learn from each other and find the most. So if you are, let's say, a 5 people architecture company, you don't care about like this 1,000 people construction company using these products. You have to know what another 2 people or 10 people architecture company working on the same type of project is using. So that kind of like sharing is very useful. And that's what we are doing on AC Plus Tech. We have like a number of filters, and you can now we have this like AI powered search system. So you can come and search for like an AI powered AR VR tool for construction phase or for art design. So you can like narrow down your search so you can find the most relevant to your practice.
So it really adds to productivity. And I was going to ask you a question on collaboration, but really collaboration and sharing. And I think the trend that we're seeing is that construction is starting to be recognized as a high-tech industry, right? And it wasn't like
Yeah,
that 5 years ago. Nobody would have said that. But today,
yeah,
it's a technology industry. And whether you're in the building world or the civil world or the design world, or engineering or
yeah,
architecture, you are part of a technology revolution in
yeah.
the AEC space. And so collaboration becomes very important. What do you think the future is for innovation in this space?
Yeah, the future is very bright, definitely. And it's a huge industry, like you said. And then, with AC Plus Tech, I talk to all these innovators all the time, and I see that they are not really competitors. I mean, I don't see them as competitors. Maybe some of them are, sort of, I don't know. But I personally, so my background, Ravi, I'm coming from, I already shared with you, Iran. And in Iran, as a Bahai, I'm Bahai. I could not go to university. So we were deprived of having access to higher education. And this group of professors came together and started this institute called the BIHE, the Bahai University for Higher Education. So all our classes were at homes. We didn't have access to like public libraries. The government officials would come after us, would come after our professors, would arrest our professors, put them in jail for. So that's a different, really,
Oh my God,
talk for another hour. Yeah.
that's
But
serious.
what I want to say is that, so you asked about the future of innovation. I think it's very bright because at this institute that I just mentioned to you, BIHE, that we had the community that supported us and we got education. So I got a bachelor's degree because of this community. And then when I came to the US, UC Berkeley accepted my degree, and I got master's. It was all the community. And I really felt when I was in Iran the power of community, that when people work together, when they collaborate, they can do so much,
That is, wow, that's a powerful, I think that is the powerful
Yeah,
message that I'm getting from you,
yeah,
is that there is
yeah,
a unlocked potential in industry, in people.
yeah,
The unlocked potential is really driven by community, by
community, yeah,
working together. And I can also
yeah,
see applications at the project level where contention is important and healthy conflict is an important thing on a project from a management point
yeah,
of view. But so
yeah,
often value is not unlocked or value is destroyed because we have a needless conflict or we're not working
yeah,
together to create value for owners, for organizations, for customers,
yeah,
for our people, right? And
yeah,
that message, that's a message that you don't often hear, this the
yeah,
value, and you're a beneficiary of communities that helped you and
yeah,
has transformed your
exactly.
life, and you are contributing now on a global level. So that's a real positive
Yeah,
message, especially for young people. And
yeah.
I was going to ask you, what guidance do you have for young people who want to enter the AEC arena, who want to enter and be innovators in the construction industry?
Yeah, for sure. So my message would be that, so AC is a huge industry and it's so complex and so diverse. You can be a facade designer, you can be a construction manager, you can be you can be an architect, engineer. So there are all these things you can do in the AEC space. It's important to find your passion, follow your passion, but also keep up with all this technology. Of course, get a good education, but keep up with all these great tools and technologies, and you know keep up with all this sustainability aspects of things, because now the world, global warming, all these issues we have. So keep learning about that besides like your academic education, and then find your passion, find your niche, see where you want to focus. It's a huge industry, it's very diverse. Find your niche, and then once you do that, find the right advisors, right network for you. And LinkedIn is a great place, great resource. Events, community events, happens all over the world. So connect with the right people, learn from them, follow them on social media, follow them, all this like in-person events, and then just, um, take it from there.
Wow, so there's a lot to wrap our heads around. Great messages, positivity, innovation, a lot of passion for what we do, and we want to all move ahead together and advance the industry. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your journey. And we are grateful to have you on as part of the construction one-on-one community. So thank you so much, Niknaz.
Of course. Thank you so much, Ravi, for having me. It was so wonderful chatting with you. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks.